Welcome to Unlocked. I'm Dr. Joel Swakowski. In this show, we explore how truth comes to life through real stories and real people. Today, I'm joined by Brett Hildebrandt. As you'll see in the episode, I refer to him as the modern King Arthur. That is a name of honor that me and the friends of mine in our community here have referred to him as, because he is truly uh, a knight, and a knight who is developing other knights. So, yeah, I'm really excited for you to hear his story. It's a great one that covers a lot of ground and really does a great job of showing somebody who has these desires as a boy and seeing them come to fruition as a man in a way that can be surprising only when he lived out the purpose that God gave him. So I'm going to stop here now and let you hear for yourself. Let's dive in. Hey, Brett, how you doing?
Doing well, Dr. Joel. How are you doing?
I'm great. Happy to have you on. You and I have known each other. We've been friends for quite some time now. And me and a lot of your friends in our community see you as King Arthur, a modern version of King Arthur, and the man you've become today, the husband, the father you are today, and your passion for helping other people, in particular men, is something that's inspiring. You have quite the journey that it took to get to where you are today. So I think the audience would benefit largely from hearing the journey from you as a boy to where you are today. And yeah, I'd love you to just start wherever you'd like. What's your story, man?
Awesome. Yeah, excited to share it. It definitely was quite the journey. A lot of bumps along the way and hard knocks, but I'm glad I went through all that because it definitely, makes me the man I am today. So, starting off, I had a pretty typical upbringing. I grew up, in Wisconsin. Two loving parents, and I had a younger brother, 4 years younger than me. And my parents were great. They supported me all through school. It got me into sports, allowed me to pretty much try and do everything that I wanted to do. They also
Nice.
got me early on into to church. We would go every Sunday, and really it was like when I was kind of younger in this middle school age, I really had this really deep desire that wanting to be a man, right? And I also knew that it had to do something with God, right? And when I was younger, I just thought it would eventually happen when I got older. And spoiler alert, it didn't happen, but that's kind of where it all started for me. And as I was growing up into high school, right, I through church, I started questioning church a little bit more, right? Like some of the doctrine, like why do bad things happen to good people,
Mm,
and all this, like, kind of start seeing what seemed to be either like contradictions or at least conflicts, and didn't make sense. And when I would ask questions, I really wouldn't, get answers. And so I started me thinking that okay, maybe God isn't for me anymore. And when I was getting into high school, right, you started being attracted to females, right? And what happened was I was lucky, I guess, to start dating a very attractive girl at school, and I started getting a bunch of attention from not only from this girl, but also these other guys were like, "Wow, like how did you get her?" and all
wow.
these things. So I started putting, unbeknownst to me, my self worth was like dating this attractive female, and that kind of started this journey of looking towards external circumstances, in this case females, for like my validation. I started realizing that, right?
Oh,
It was also,
like your manhood, like getting your like masculinity off of women type thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That I was just
pretty.
low self-esteem at the time, and it
Yeah,
was like this feels good, right? And but it's also just trying to figuring out dating, figuring all this stuff out. I know we
yeah,
always kind of joke about it, but it was just like, how did you learn how to date, right? It was just like no one ever taught me, and so basically I just learned it from my peers. And so I'm just like winging this, kind of growing from boy to manhood here.
yeah.
And it also was during this time in high school where I was home sick, and this movie came out on video called King Arthur. And it was during this time that I like fell in love with the movie. I watched it 3 times. in a row
Wow.
during
Yeah.
that day, and it was all about this version of King Arthur was all about, him focused on serving a higher purpose with God, but then also had this brotherhood of his knights that basically were indentured servants to Rome because they just lived their parents lived on the land and they had to serve 20 years and he had to like train these knights up. And so he had to gain their trust. And that's where he went the round table to say, no
Yeah.
man's better than anyone else, going off and having these epic battles, standing up against the tyranny, doing like going off on these really crazy journeys, coming out victorious and leading by example. And his brethren wanted to just always be fighting with him. And seeing the uniqueness of each of the knights was another big thing too. Like every knight had a unique skill. So I just like got caught up in all that lore. And I'm like, yes, like that's what I want to have. Like I want to live life like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It struck
Um,
something deep inside you, huh? That's that story.
oh, absolutely. And I think at least for me, but I think also for a lot of other males I know, is like they want to live this like epic life, and it's different for everybody. But it's like they want to be doing something on a grand scale,
Yeah.
and you're making the most out of life. And I just always had this like there has to be something more than what I'm seeing between church and going to school and college and all of that stuff. Like there has to be more to life than just getting a job and working and so.
But a lot of this was about you still just trying to become and feel like a man.
Absolutely,
So then
absolutely.
what happens after high school then?
Yeah, well, after high school, it's what we were told during our time is, if you wanna go get a good job, you have to go to college, right? So,
Yeah.
I went off to college right away, after high school. I didn't fully know what I wanted to do. I used to business administration at that time, right? So, I'm just gonna go to school and figure it out, and it was during this time, that started getting caught up in the party scene, right? So I didn't drink that much, if at all, in high school because if you ever got caught, you couldn't play sports, which I
Oh
played a
yeah.
lot of sports.
Pretty harsh penalties there, yeah.
So, but coming over here in college, just like, okay, I have this first taste of freedom. I don't have to go to church anymore. This was where I kind of fully fell away from church because like it just didn't make sense. God didn't make sense to me. And now I can kind of do what I want when I want, right? And I started getting caught up partying, and so partying, go chasing females. That was the thing that was kind of driving me in college, and it was also for the first time I started seeing debt pile up, and
Uh-oh.
I'm like, why am I? And then I started questioning, like, why am I doing this if I don't know what I'm doing or what I want to be growing up? And really what happened was I slowly started not going to classes. I started taking even like Adderall and extra like drugs during that
Oh,
time.
really?
So just trying to thinking that that was going to help on top of the drinking, and it just started kind of getting this spiral. So I started missing classes. I started isolating from my friends,
Oh,
and it really came to this point where, um, I was feeling really depressed really, really depressed. I would, come home, and I remember it all kinda came to a head where it was, at the end of the 2nd semester, my first year of college, I had to write this paper, and I couldn't write the paper. I'm at home with my parents. My dad ended up writing the paper, like, wrote it all out, "Here you go. All you have to do is just type it up on the computer." And I remember that I couldn't even type it up.
like that, like because of the depression?
Because of like, I was so, like, broke, I just broke down crying and just said, "I can't
Wow.
do this anymore. I don't know what's wrong with me." I remember just crying. Like, it was
Oh, yeah.
absolutely horrible. I'm like, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't function. I can't even do a simple task." And that was when, with the help of my parents, I became medically withdrawn from college, with depression. I came back home. They graciously took me back in, and from that standpoint, I got on some medication and I started taking that. My dad was so helpful. He got me a job at his work, working in mill, and so I'm like kind of slowly getting back on my feet. But I absolutely hated the way that the drugs, the antidepressants, made me feel.
Yeah.
During this time, so I slowly like started getting off. I started looking into holistic, natural alternatives. I started searching other alternatives for truth in the sense of like what else could be out there besides just, Christianity. I started going off into these other realms. I always was still searching
Yeah.
something more. And so now I'm not feeling like a man at all, right? Coming back home, failed at college. And it was at one point when I was driving home from work, I'm realizing like, man, I got to do something with my life. Like, I'm not living this epic life. I'm not feeling like a man. And then what's the one thing that pops into my head that's like, okay, what's something that I know that I'm going to feel like a man from and I'm like, I know what, I'm going to join the army.
Yep.
So,
I mean, you were a far cry from feeling like King Arthur.
oh
And
yeah,
what's like the easiest jump from like a massive depression into being the man that you saw in that movie, like just a few years earlier, is like, well, the military, right?
yeah, there you go. I mean, he was a
Yeah.
military general. Let me go lead some men type of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, on my way home, like made that decision. I looked up how to join. I joined and told my mom, like, hey, I'm going to join the army. I joined and I'm going to be leaving here in 2 months to go to basic training. Right. So here I
Yeah.
go. I go,
Yeah. Very similar for me. I was like 6 weeks after going to the recruiter, I was gone to boot camp.
yeah. It was just like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do. How fast can I get there? Just try
Yep.
to go. And yeah, I went to basic training, right, which is where they tear you down, they all in build you back up again, but it
Right.
was a lot of mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress during that time, and, it was great because I was able to I came in a little bit older than, some of the right out of
Oh,
high
yeah.
school kids, right? So I had a little bit more maturity, I kinda knew what to expect, but, yeah, it definitely I learned a lot from that experience. Glad that I went through it. I kinda got pegged as a leader during that time too, which was kinda great. And after the basic training, then I went off to go do my advanced training to get my job, and that was as a medic. So I
Oh, cool.
go off to Fort Sam Houston in Texas and train for 4 months to be a medic, right? And the difference now between basic and advanced training is that with basic training, it's just all guys, right? So now when I'm
Yeah.
going off to this training, it's we're introducing girls again, and
Yeah.
it was a very different feel. I always say it was kinda like college on steroids because you still had to do all the crazy training, but then you had to do the physical PT every day,
Yeah.
waking up early, doing all this stuff, and I had to study, to pass this course. Like, I had to be nationally certified as an EMT to even get to be a medic. So definitely had to study hard. But during this time, I still was acting like a little boy. I didn't have self-esteem or confidence in who I was yet. So I was promiscuous with a few girls there when we had leave during that time. So I still was sleeping around trying to feel that validation from that time. And I successfully graduated being a medic, and then I came back home, and during that transition home, I found out that we got called up because I was in the Army National Guard, so we got called up to go to overseas to Iraq, and, so I opted to join and, to go with that. So now I'm coming back home, and I have a few months before I leave, to go over to Iraq, and still partying during this time, and what happened was I got a call probably about, like, 4 or 6 weeks after came back from basic or from, advanced training, and it was a
So
phone call.
after med school, but before leaving for Iraq?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a phone call that shook me to the core, and basically I got a call from, one of the girls that I slept with, and she called and said, "Hey, Brett, I'm pregnant." And I just, like, my world stopped,
Yeah.
right? And, I'm at home, and find out this news and like, all everything's going through my head. Like I'm about to go to Iraq. Like she lives on the East Coast, right away from that. We barely knew each other, and she's just like, "Hey, I understand if you don't want this child, but I'm still gonna like have it." And I'm going through all the scenarios in my head on all this stuff, and I remember I got to this selfish point where it's just like I couldn't live, not know, like not I couldn't have the child, be around knowing that like I'm not like, the dad for it. So like
Like, so,
I
like, you wouldn't like not being a part. So it's like I can't imagine being the dad, a
Mhm.
dad, but not being involved in the child's life type thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
started thinking about like, okay, well, am I going to move over to the East Coast? Like, how's this going to happen? Like, started going through all that, and in my head, it made sense at the time. Um, and yeah, to just basically say, hey, like, I'd like for you to get an abortion, and basically talked her into it, well, and she agreed, to it, but it was still, I remember it was like extremely difficult. I remember like just crying during the entire time, and doing this all alone, right? Not talking to anybody. And yeah, so then that's what she told me that she was gonna do. So then now like I got all this guilt and shame, and the way to kind of get over that is for me to just like focus on the army and all
yeah.
this other stuff, and just kind of work past it and almost kind of like forget about it. And so I went over to Iraq and did one tour over there, and that was another crazy experience again, providing medical help for detainee operations over there. So kind of so that was a very
What's
interesting.
that like, working in prisons and stuff over there?
Yeah, so basically a lot of the high value detainees were held over there, and then I had to help give them medical support
Okay.
while
Wow.
they were detained. And I did get to go on like one kind of like mission off our base to go into the green zone and stay at the courthouse where they would trial like the cream of the crop in the deck of cards, as they called it, right? Like Saddam's half brother, Chemical Ali, all these people that just like killed millions of people, and they just had to await trial, and they would be tried for all these crimes. But I would have to give them their insulin, and I'd have to do all of this stuff for them while they're waiting. So it was just a really surreal experience, like helping these people that have committed heinous crimes, and they were tried through the judicial system and everything. But yeah, so that was kind of what I did overseas there, um, and it's still searching. Still,
This had to have led to you feeling like a man and feeling like King Arthur, right?
absolutely not. Yeah, no. So yeah,
Right.
I was still still overseas there, and I was still was yeah, chasing all these, like external things, or yeah, there was still females there trying to do stuff with them. It's still chasing girls, like being very, very boyish. And so when I came back, I was still, it was in this weird like juxtaposition in this time in my life where I was like still like, man, life, this isn't, I don't feel settled yet. I don't feel satisfied. I don't feel like a man. I'm still searching for truth again. Like I'm looking at all these like documentaries, researching ancient religions, like looking at like what we could say we're living in a matrix, figuring out like frequencies, energy. Like I am just like there's more here that I'm trying to find. So, but yet I'm like not living that type of a lifestyle, right? I'm chasing females and trying to find affirmation to validate myself. So it's just
Yeah.
weird time. And so I'm still partying every weekend. I'm starting to go back to school now, thanks to the army. They're able to help pay for my college. So I'm trying to go back to school again. And I remember there was another kind of turning point in my life here was um, I went to my buddy's bachelor party, right, from college. And so I drove to, the college town and had the bachelor party. And of course, there's a lot of drinking going on, all this stuff, right? We, get totally, totally hammered, go home back to one of our friends' places there. Got a bunch of the guys there. We're kind of in for the night. We all ordered pizza and we're watching movies. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then all of a sudden I started hearing some like voices in my head saying, "Hey, we got to get out of here. Like, we don't want to stay here. We need to get home. It'll be so much better if we get home." And I'm thinking, having this like conversation, there's like no way they're going to let me do that, right? They know I'm drunk. They're not going to let me go drive. So I'm like having this conversation in my head. And so what I did was I'm like, okay, like this is what we can do. All right, I'm gonna go say I'm gonna go get my overnight bag in my car, which I did have in there, and then I'm gonna go put my pizza in there, and then I'll come back in. Except when I went back outside, I never came back in. I got in my car and I started driving home, basically taking a path that I took hundreds of times driving from college, and that was about an hour and a half drive. I just get in the car and I start driving. Absolutely should not have been driving. I'm also eating pizza while I'm driving. Like, it was just horrible
Yes.
choices. And
Yeah.
somehow, and the thing is, like, it's a straight shot home on this highway. And somehow I got off onto a different just a different
Like a frontage
exit.
road or
So
something type deal.
yeah, it was just off to another highway, you could say,
Yeah.
right? But all of a sudden now I'm kind of more into the country, and
Okay.
now we're not going straight anymore. We're kind of taking a little,
A little
zigzag here.
zigzags.
And all of a sudden I'm like, "Hey, like, I gotta stop this. Like, I need to pull over and go to sleep, right? Because I'm going across the lane and stuff." And so I tried to push my foot on the brake, and as I'm pushing it on there, we're slowing down. All of a sudden, I feel something like pull my foot back up, and I'm like, "That's weird." And then it started accelerating again, and I'm like, "What's going on? I don't want to do this." So then, like, I'm taking my foot off again, and it's kind of pushing back on there. And then all of a sudden, I'm going around a corner, and the next thing I know, I wake up and I feel grass on my face.
Whoa.
So ridiculous. So I crashed. Basically,
Yeah.
the car came in. I came around the corner and turned on my driver's side, and I slammed into a culvert, into a ditch. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm in a ditch on the driver's side. The car's flipped on its side, and I'm feeling grass on my face because the window blew out.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I start hearing some faint voices saying, "Hey, you all right? Is everyone okay in there?" And I'm able to finally say, "Hey, I'm okay, but I can't move." I couldn't move my arm at the time. And they're like, "Hey, we're gonna roll you over." So they roll me over, but the driver's door was so like messed up they couldn't open it. Um, a lot of
Oof.
damage in the car.
Yeah.
They come in from the other side, and they just said, "Hey, like, were you drinking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was." And they're just like, "Hey, like, we got to get you out of here. You don't want to get caught. You don't want, this on your record, etc." And they're like, let me call your parents." And I'm like, just, and I told them like to call the police. "No, we're going to call your parents. Have you come pick you up." So they call my parents, and the mom gets the worst phone call that any parent they never want to get, right?
Oh
It's like, "Hey,
no.
hey, your son was in a serious car accident. You need to come help." And so that's what they ended up doing because of the guys that wouldn't call the cops. And they told me a story to share that to say that I was the passenger side, right? They're just trying to make sure that this didn't get on my record. And I don't know any of these guys. I was so ridiculously blessed that they even saw me. They basically told me that they saw me go off into a ditch when they were turning a corner, probably miles and miles away. They saw my headlights go off. So they put me in their truck, they take me away, and then they drop me off at an intersection in basically in the middle of nowhere, laying in like grass this tall, right? And so they just drop me off and they tell me like that's where they told my parents to come. So like uh so my parents end up coming there and I'm like just laying there waiting, and I was again like feeling everything. Like I can't move my arm. I'm in so much pain. The adrenaline's wearing off, and I'm like, again, just thinking, how did I get here? Like, just kind of, having another breakdown. My parents get me, bring me to the hospital, and the police come to talk through it all, and they're like, "Hey, we understand that you're in the military, and your story of how you weren't the driver isn't adding up." And I finally like just kind of like broke down. I'm like, okay, was driving, here's why I did it. And they're like, hey, we understand that. And so, but fortunately, it was past the statute of time, I guess, between when
They
the
couldn't
accident
charge you.
happened to here, so they weren't able to charge me.
Yeah.
Um, and so I got very lucky there. I getting all my glass cleaned out of me. Found out I broke my scapula and broke part of my neck. Like,
Whoa.
so they like sent me home afterwards, right? And there was nothing to do, no surgery or anything. Just here's some pain pills and a sling, and it's gonna kind of heal on its own. So here I am back at home again with my parents, and I'm like, this is just not working out. And I remember vividly that night when I came home that I started having some more spiritual interactions, right? So this time was more than just hearing voices. I was in my parents. I couldn't sleep in a bed, so I was in our family room in a chair, a recliner, trying to sleep because had to sleep upright
Yeah.
for several months. And all of a sudden, it's in the middle of the night, and I'm looking over into the kitchen, and I see some of these like a dark entity over there. So like I get up, I go over there to try to like yell at it to like leave to get out of here. And then all of a sudden, as I get closer to it, I just feel like I just get sucked down to the ground, like almost like just like not worshiping, but like on that like kind of like pose. That's where I got down, and then I woke up, and I'm like, what's going on? Like that felt so real.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like even more confused, like kind of this like God's kind of spiritual stuff's coming back to me now after I went away from it. And so I went to my old church and said, I'm having these like spiritual things going on with me. Like, what can you tell me? And they didn't have anything for me. They were just like, well, sounds like maybe you see a psychologist, this stuff, you should maybe get some medication. Or here's another church that kind of is more open to the things that you're talking about. And I'm just like, really? So I kind of like, that's what we got. And it kind of solidified like, hey, like, I'm really kind of done with the church.
Yeah. This is
And
the place that's supposed to have answers to these questions, right?
right. Yeah. So it was interesting. So then after that, few weeks pass, and I remember I went out to lunch with my cousin and one of his friends, right? Who I've hung out a couple times with. And basically, I don't know what compelled me, but they were just talking about my accident, and I felt like I shared what was kind of going on, some of the spiritual things that were going on with me. And my my cousin just kind of he didn't have anything for it, but that friend was like, actually, I don't think that sounds too crazy. Right. And we started all of a sudden started talking about the Bible, and I started sharing more things that like, hey, I have always had issues with these things in the Bible. And he's like, oh yeah, like totally, like I did too, until I got some help and I got answers. And he's like, I don't think your story's crazy. I think those are actual like spiritual attacks and things going on in your life. Like I know a guy that can help you with this. And I'm like, really? So I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. Where's this guy? Ends up being, the next city over, right? And then where I grew up, I'm like, okay, I'm already like highly skeptical. Like, how could this guy be here and could have these answers, right? So, but lo and behold, that is where I met John Lenhart, which I know, our community knows very well. And
The
that's where he was.
unlocked community is familiar with them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's where I met him all the way back in the fall of 2011, right? So
Wow.
this was a long
Yeah.
time ago. And so I come to him, I'm in the sling. And I come to him all just broken, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, now like physically. I'm just like, okay, this guy right here told me that you can answer all these questions about the Bible and these spiritual things. So I went after him saying, okay, why do bad things happen to good people? He's like, oh yeah, that's because of this, right? I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I'm like, what's the meaning of life? And he's like, oh, it's this and that. And he's like, actually, I wrote a book all about this, right? And it was called Modeling God, right? And the first edition, right before we were blessed with your commentary on the
Oh,
second.
thank you.
Um, so I started, he's answering all my questions. He was telling me like, "Here's what I think's going on with you spiritually, right? I think you're being attacked. Here's how we can stop the attacks, right?" And so I'm like taking all of his advice. I'm reading his book, going through all this. Things are making sense for the first time, right? Like I'm understanding, you know, bad things are happening to good people. It's not God's fault. It's because of free will, right? We all have a free will to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
God's, learning that God was is right and just and can't act apart from that. Like
Amen.
it just started making sense through this. And then learning that the meaning of life is church and marriage, having one person that you can love, right? And then also having a community where everybody can love one another and grow. I'm like,
Yeah.
this makes sense. This is amazing. And during this time was when there was they were John, and then I know Jonathan, who also the Unlocked community knows,
Yeah.
right? They did
Mhm.
a man course, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I took during this time. I'm like, this is like, holy cow, everything I'm looking for is like happening here between helping God make sense. And then now I'm going to like learn how to be a man from these biblical principles. And it was great. So I'm taking this course and it was awesome with a bunch of guys. We'd meet once a week. We'd learn some of this information. We then would like apply it during the week, and we'd come back and share how we applied it, right? Like our wins, our losses. I started getting this like brotherhood again, right? Every
Yeah.
person I was there was unique. And they were at different spots in their life as well. And once I learned how to be a man from this course, I learned about justice, right? And how like it's going to get equaled out. If it's not going to get equaled out here on earth, it's going to get equaled out later. And then I slowly started realizing all the like wrongs that I've done throughout my life. So this was where I had like this spot where I was like, man, I'm learning all this information. I want to fully give my life to God, and so like I gave my life to God and said, "Hey, I'm gonna live for you. I'm now gonna go be this like knight for you. I'm gonna go out
Yeah.
and go do this." Which was during this time I looked at all my wrongs, right? And I told him, I said, "Hey, I was wrong for the abortion, right? Like, I mean, I'm crying to him, crying out. I'm like, hey, I'm wrong. I want to do everything I can to make up for that, even if I can never make up. If it was like negative infinity justice against me, I'm gonna do everything I can
What do you
here
do? Right?
to make up for that, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know fully, like, but I'm
Try
just gonna like
anyways.
I'm gonna go for it."
Yeah.
And so just I started and I felt like I got that like forgiveness, right? I got that like guilt off of me for the first time. And now I'm like on fire for this. And so I went back to all the females that I've ever had, intercourse with or that I've had deep relationships with. And I went back and I confessed and repented for how I treated them. And and it was all across the United States. Like I felt like it was a miracle that God was able to help me get connected with all of these females. And I went back and I just said, "Hey, like I gave you the wrong impression of what a man was supposed to be in your life. I was chasing, as we say, like these effects from you. I was wanting sex. I was using you for my own self-esteem, and even if it was like mutual, right? I never like did or forced anything wrong, but it's still, well, they got that false sense of what a man's supposed to be. And so I would share that with them where I was wrong. I'll share them with what I believe now, how a marriage is supposed to work. I told them that I believe when we have consensual intercourse, it's marriage. And I realize that we may have created a covenant and I want to like break that covenant, not, so that you can have a full covenant and have all the spiritual benefits that God gave us with your, husband currently or husband to be, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this was several years later for some, lots changed. And of course, as you can imagine, I got, hit with, three major different, responses. One was like, okay, thanks for sharing, like appreciate that. I'm glad that you're in a good spot now and you've figured out God and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But hey, yeah, we're just having fun, okay. And then I had one where saying that like, wow, like I didn't know that some of these things are really hitting me because some of them were Christians as well, and they're like, "This is great," and they were asking for more information, which was awesome. So like, that was great. And then I had ones where I got met with one where it was just like, "I think you're crazy. You need to go on medication. I think war messed you up. Right? Don't ever contact me. Any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?" So I'm met like with this full spectrum.
Quite the spectrum. Yeah.
but it was something that I felt like I needed to do. So
Still the
I'm
right thing to do, right?
so and I had to own that, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it was a really great experience of going back, and I'm finally starting feeling like I am doing these like kind of like epic missions. Each one of those I thought was like as a mission. I completed all of that stuff, right? So like now what's next? And during this time, as I'm still learning and growing, being a man, I ended up getting married, and I'm still figuring things out. Ended up having a beautiful daughter during this time as well, and the marriage started off great, but then we started distancing, and the beliefs that I thought we had kind of differed to a point where we just couldn't make it work, and so we ended up getting a divorce, and that also was like another difficult time for me too, where it was just
Yeah.
like I'm starting to like figure this stuff out, and here I am again seeing it as a failure, right? So I'm making great progress, and then I'm making mistakes again, and I think it's just so beautiful. God's, like mercy through this is like I checked to see like where I was wrong, where I made mistakes in that marriage, and started again righting those wrongs and covering those gaps where I could have been a better husband, where these more skills that I needed to treat a wife the way that we're supposed to be treated. Because it definitely was a two-way street, but I just wanted to look at where I messed up, right? So I started practicing those things even more. I started helping females that I wasn't even trying to go towards marriage, but like helping them practicing every day, like helping them get their thoughts out, helping them go towards their purpose and progress. I started honing in on more my uniqueness and my purpose. And so once I got that figured out, things just started opening up. And now I'm not looking for validation from females anymore for myself, where I finally figured out my uniqueness. I finally figured out this like King Arthur, Arthurian,
Yeah.
like design. Like I'm actually like, I have it now finally and feeling it out. And it was great. This time of my life was absolutely phenomenal. Making so much, progress, and started helping the community that's now Musical Life Church, right? Like grow, inviting more people into the community,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal. And really, after that was when I finally found my now wife. I learned the skills enough, I said, to finally find like my heroine, this woman that like I thought that I could never get. And it was all because I reversed it and focused on, myself and finding self-worth here, that now I could, be with a high self-esteem woman that I could never have been with because I would have been too low self-esteem. So it was absolutely, great. Now I'm in an amazing marriage, 4 kids, you know, uh, two the two oldest are boys, and now I'm training training them up to be men. And I just took our oldest through the man course, and he just finished the last step to become a man, and he stepped through a really difficult situation and handled it like a man. So now I get to affirm him as a man, and you have the tools now we can work on growing and using those tools more, which is phenomenal. And
How old is he
yeah. So he just turned, at that time, like, 15. So
when he went? Yeah. And was affirmed as a man and all that through this program that you benefited from, and now you're helping not only other men but
yeah,
your
it,
son.
it's great. Yeah. So it's I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, it's this program that I went through right early on, and over the past few years, I've been running this program where we kind of virtualized it,
Yeah.
so people can come in all across the world, which is awesome, coming in from overseas, and it's this men's program, and it's phenomenal. And again, it is doesn't matter what stage of life that you're in your manhood, if you're single, dating, you're already married, this is going to help you figure out what it means to be a man, and understand the differences between men and women, and how to be about them the right way, and understand how your brain works. So it's just an amazing course. And so I am blessed to teach this course and have it. And in fact, John Lenhart and Jonathan and I, we just revamped this course, and we're piloting a new course here coming out in probably just a couple of weeks. I don't know when this will air. It might already be out when
Yeah, by the time
this
people see
interview
this, it
airs,
might
but
be available.
really
Yeah.
excited to do this. And then we're bringing this course out. There's been hundreds and hundreds of gentlemen that have gone through this. So now we're trying to get this out even further, and so it's beautiful. It's all night themed, which I love. So it's like we get to people get to come in, and these guys get to live out this epic life that they want to live out, and it's phenomenal. And I also now, because of how much I got, from God, I'm always looking for ways I can build up, not only my marriage, but also the community we're in, right? So like, the church I'm a part of, Musical Life Church, in Wisconsin, right? And love it. And so I'm looking for ways to do that, right? So there's another program that I went through Musical Life Church called Restoration,
Yeah.
as you know of, right?
Yeah.
Writing most of it, but absolutely phenomenal course. And that got me even deeper connected into God and understanding my uniqueness and how we can live that out in God's truth. And so I get to be a coach for that now. I get to be a marriage coach. And it's just giving back and helping people using my story and my faults, owning those, and then helping people connect with them in their stories and then helping point them to what they need in the moment. Do they need, a man course? If I'm talking with a guy, do they need, marriage training? Do they need to get reconnected with God or get deeper? Then we go to the restoration process. So I have all these amazing tools to pass along. And it's my life. I'm now like living this like epic life that I saw in 2004, King Arthur going off doing these epic quests, right? It's like I get to do that day in and day out with, my queen by my side and building up this next generation
Yeah.
of my family, right? And I'm so blessed now to help my daughter. She's just turning 12 now. I get to help her realize like how men ought to act and help her focus on not being attracted to the boys like I was and finding her own self-worth, her own uniqueness. Like our kids know their uniqueness now thanks to the restoration process. It's absolutely amazing with these kids learning their uniqueness and learning how to live it out and helping them get energy and confidence. It's such a beautiful thing that I wish I had when I was a kid. But now it's like that's all I want to do is get this out to the world. So
Man,
yeah,
that's
that's where
incredible.
I am
So,
now.
yeah, so you have, I mean, all these things that you've benefited from, the man program, the restoration program, just the
Yeah,
community you're a part of, all the things you've learned, that the answers you've been given to these big questions you've been asking, modeling God, all this
yeah.
stuff. But that's all great. But like, one of the big things you talked about early on is this, not only this desire to be this King Arthur character who makes this great impact, but also this brotherhood.
Yeah.
So can you talk just for a minute as we close out here? How has the impact of a brotherhood had on your life, as well as all these, because the programs are one thing and learning this
Hmm.
stuff is one thing, but what happens when I'm done with the 10, 11 lessons of restoration? What happens when I'm done with the 8 or whatever lessons of the man program? Then what?
Yeah. It like most things, right? You can go to school, learn everything, take these courses, learn it. But if you, don't apply it in your life, right, like it's not gonna matter. And so the brotherhood that, you know, gosh, I might even choke up here, but like I wouldn't be here without the brother. That was the information is great, but having guys come alongside of you in your darkest times to help you make the right choices or to step into difficult moments, that's what matters, and finding like-minded individuals is crucial. So having a community is is half the meaning of life, and
Yeah.
so that's what's awesome. And So it is such a key piece, and it's just as important, if not
Yeah,
more important, because that's where we build up. It's through these exchanges and our uniqueness that
there it
we
is.
can
Yeah,
grow, and God through somebody else can speak into my life, and God through me can speak into somebody else's life in that moment. So the more people that you have in your community that can hear from God because they learn how to hear from God from modeling God and the restoration process, you're getting more people that can be tapped into the divine, speaking truth and life into everybody in the
yeah,
community. And if you have that, you're getting God from all these different angles. It's not just relying on me. It never was supposed to be just relying on us. It is that community, that brotherhood. So after the man program, we all get connected virtually. I mean, we are still connecting and hanging out all the time. So we're actually looking at building even a larger virtual network afterwards, and we get people plugged in to connecting because it is that, it doesn't
yeah,
matter where you are in the world, you need at least one other guy to be talking with, weekly. So we have programs for that where guys just if a guy wants someone, to interact with and to have that camaraderie, we got a group of guys that are willing to do that. Like
yeah,
we're like it's like and that's free. Like we'll just hook you up with that, right?
yeah.
And
It's because it's made up of a group of guys who also receive that. No, they need that same benefit
mhm,
of camaraderie, so they're willing to be that for other people who need it. What I find so fascinating about your story, Brett, is as you're, when you're still in a sling, hanging out with your cousin and this old friend of yours,
yeah,
the first thing that you experience before being given the answers to these big questions you have is this guy just connecting with you and showing you some compassion and just saying you're not crazy, man.
yeah,
I don't think you're crazy. So the first step towards you having not only all these answers that you were looking for, but this camaraderie wasn't somebody just teaching you a bunch of stuff. It was somebody just connecting with you as a human being and just meeting you where you were at in that moment and taking some time to listen to you
yeah,
instead of judging you. And it's like, and that's part of what it means to be. So like you experienced what that camaraderie is, that a taste of that brotherhood, which that is essentially then what got you into the place where it's like, okay, I want like, now I'm ready to learn stuff too.
absolutely. I mean, I think, and I realized that it all came from God's truth that was in the Bible, but I just couldn't understand it. It was really difficult for me to pull a lot of truth out. I mean, the Bible is one of the most difficult books to interpret, as
Yeah.
you're well aware. But so that's great having modeling God and to pull all that, the information out easy to understand, and then breaking out the scriptures, right? Like was phenomenal in integral in that part to help make sense. But it was this brotherhood, and yeah, the guy, the gentleman, now is my best friend. Like he's my Lancelot for using King Arthur
Yeah.
here. And that's Rob Warning.
What a
He
man.
he is the guy that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. I
Right.
owe like my life to him. He helped me through all my darkest times
Yeah.
and came out. I mean, he was my pastor before I had a pastor, right? And
Yeah.
now he became a pastor, right? A Musical Life
Yeah.
Church, Appleton, and helped me step into more of my purpose, uniqueness, and leadership in the church, as well as help me be a better husband, better man, a better father. Like he's always guiding me back to God's truth on how to handle these situations, and that's like what a true pastor is. But then also it's like that's what a true friend is, right? That's like I said, he's my Lancelot. He's like the guy that I could count on for anything to go to battle with him. Whatever he's doing, I'm there. And so we need people like that. And that's like what I feel lots of guys are searching for. And in this world where we are the most connected we've ever been, we're also the most disconnected. And it's like so there's so many people that are searching. Like I was searching, on the computer, you know, in my my parents basement, right, trying to find truth, trying to find
Yeah.
camaraderie, trying to search for it. People are out there searching for it, and it's just like now it's like I'm feeling so compelled, I got to get this out. And so I'm so excited, with the Knights of Faith program that we're going to be getting this out and connecting people, doesn't matter where you're at, but you can find this brotherhood virtually now is amazing. And you can we have guys connecting up in person, flying in person to connect up after they've been through these battles together of
Yeah.
sharing their most vulnerable times and things that they're going through in their life, and just providing that advice or showing that compassion and just being there and just being that support system and encouraging them that they can make it through this, right? So yeah, it's life, man. I love it.
Dude, it's incredible. What a journey. And I love that you appreciate the journey you were on, and you're helping other men do the same, and also your family too and the community you're part of. So keep up the good work, man. Yeah, we'll have to have you on again because I know there's a lot of epic individual journeys you've been on, and I'd love to hear more of your stories. But thank you so much, Brett. This was incredible. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what God does through you to really impact future generations of men. So thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. This
Yeah,
was
man.
great.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care. Yep.
All right. Hey, King Arthur, huh? Brett, thank you again for being on the show. Right away, let's start digging into some doctrine here, unlock some of these truths. I can't help but think of the power of stories when I hear Brett's story. One of the ways to think of a story is, well, let me ask you, what's the purpose of a story? I mean, take a minute and give an answer for yourself. To entertain? Maybe. The deeper, ultimate purpose of a story is a vehicle for truth. That's how I see stories. They are a way to express truth. And they are a really efficient way of delivering truth, and in a way where we remember the truth. So our brain is actually created in a way where it operates the same way as stories do. So when we hear stories, we retain that information a lot better. So for instance, I could say, I'm out of milk. I'm going to go to the store and buy some. That's a story. Now that might sound a little boring to you, but what would be better? Me sharing that or me saying, I'm going to go to the door. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to close the door. I'm going to walk to my car. I'm going to start the car. So a lot of people think the right way to have information given to them is just give me the facts. Just give me more information. Just let me learn this information directly. Don't waste my time with these elaborate stories. The problem is there's never enough just me giving you facts. People will always want more, right? And ultimately we get overwhelmed with the facts or we forget most of them. But when it's done through a story, all those facts and those truths within the story hangs off the story. So for instance, the creation story from Genesis, a lot of people, they sit there and will argue how God should have just given us a list of facts and been really analytical with how he created everything, why he created everything, how everything's made, and what everything's made of, and just give me the facts, give me the facts, give me the facts, so that we can prove this out that God really created the heavens and the earth. Problem is, there will never be enough, and people will always want more analysis and more facts, more effects, not the causes. Or I could tell you a story. And not only will that story have all this truth within it that can express through the story, you'll remember it as well. And this is really the King Arthur story for Brett. It held all these truths for what it meant to be a man for him, to the point where as a teenager in high school, and then throughout this journey of him becoming a man, he kept going back to this story. It wasn't some book he read of here's 20 things you need to know about what it means to be a man. It was this story that encapsulated all these principles within principles that at the time he didn't even know how to express himself or even live out. But it was the story that rung true to him. And when he was given the right information and given the truth within that story and given the application on how to live that out, that's when his life changed. And that's when he started operating as that King Arthur character he felt compelled to be. And another thing I can't help but talk about is this brotherhood that Brett wanted. This is a biblical thing. This is truth. I talk about just like community and fellowship, and not just men hanging out with men. Although there's a benefit to all that, but just community in general and interdependence in general among all people. And I've been taught, John taught me this. I think it was his mentor who even taught him, is this idea. It's really simple. It's this idea of we, not me, or we versus me. Now, what John talks about in modeling God's wills is how profitability is not in any one person. It happens as a result of an exchange between two or more people. So if you want to actually help a group of people, it's not by helping any individual or even a group of individuals. It's about helping them interact with each other the right way. That's how we help a community. But you think about the idea of me versus we, and we can kind of see the difference between what a person's mindset is by a series of questions. And I think I may have covered this in a previous episode, but it's that important. I'm going to cover it again. So is someone thinking me, or are they thinking we? Here you go. Is someone focused on actions or interactions? Is someone talking as if they're an observer or a participant? Now, in a me culture, people don't ask or accept help. In a we culture, people ask for and accept help. In a me culture, people hide their mistakes. In a we culture, people work with others to bring about repair. We saw this with Brett, right? He talks about his flaws. He talks about these mistakes he made. He talks about the help that he accepted, the help he asked for. And it's really been pivotal as an effect in him getting help individually, was him growing in his ability to operate as a unique person in a community of other people who are doing the same thing. Another thing Brett talked about that's real important is self-esteem. Now, self-esteem can be measured by the four thought processes. And I'd check out flowsys.com if you want to see the model for the mind and the brain. I'd also check out Modeling God's Wills, as within that book, John teaches about the four thought processes. And we can see the self-esteems measured in conjunction with the four thought processes. So no self-esteem would be in line with this evil or destructive thought process. This is people who try to be happy through the thought process and where they get pleasure at the misfortune of others. Then there's low self-esteem, which is in line with the animal thought processes. And this is people who get their happiness by avoiding tension or looking to tangible things to bring them pleasure. Then there's the mid self-esteem. This is in line with the human thought process. And this is people who try to be happy through achievement, through accomplishments. And they will step into tension, and they will use their own intelligence to effort their way into accomplishing more. This one can be tricky. It can actually be deceiving. We can actually think it's the best one, like these rewards and awards and accomplishments, but eventually you can only achieve so much, right? So the high self-esteem is in line with the godly thought process. And this is people who get their happiness and their self-esteem by just operating completely according to who they are, who God created them to be, which the only way to operate completely and supremely confident in who you are is by allowing God to flow through you and to flow through who you are towards other people. Now, the thing that was really hindering Brett from being able to grow his self-esteem was his guilt. He had this traumatic event that happened. He had this really poor decision that he regretted and immediately felt shame for. And this guilt he could not get over. And this is one of the biggest problems in the world today, is people walking around with guilt and not knowing how to overcome it. So there's only one way that you can remove your guilt. The only way to remove guilt is through confession and repentance, just something Brett talked about. And in his story, you can see when his self-esteem started rising was as a result of him confessing and repenting for the things that he knew he did wrong. So where's your self-esteem at? What's your plan to grow it? That's it for today on Unlocked. I'm Dr. Joel Swakowski. You can find Brett on LinkedIn and on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff if you want to connect with him directly. You can also check out musicoflifechurch.com if you want to see the community that he was raving about. And also, there's right on that website the enrollment and some descriptions for the restoration process that Brett also talked about. You can go to flowsys.com if you want to check out more about thought process, the model for the mind and the brain, and also get in contact with John Lenart, who, of course, Brett talked about. You can also go to modelinggod.com if you want to check out Modeling God or Modeling God's Wills. Both of those books are available for purchase there for you. So go check out those resources and keep learning from Brett's journey. But thank you for listening. Keep seeking truth. Keep living it out. We'll see you next time.